Welcome back to the Chatters Box. My name is Kyle McClellan, and this is the official podcast of the St. Louis Cardinals. This series is the Albert Pujols series, and today we are diving into episode 1 with Albert. So, Albert, thanks so much for being here. We're going to dive into the early years, the parts of Albert Pujols that a lot of people don't know, so I'm excited to get into it. But thanks so much for stepping into the Chatters Box. This is our second official interview in our very great studio. Do you love our studio?
This is pretty cool, actually. Yeah, but you have where's my picture or a jersey of mine or something?
Well, we're waiting for you to do something good so that we can put it up, but we're...
Wow.
This is a Chatters Box, man. This is a podcast, official St. Louis Cardinals podcast, and I'm thrilled to have you on here. Former teammate of mine, former teammate that we part of that World Series team, but also somebody I grew up watching and got to know when I was in the minor leagues, being a St. Louis kid. So I've known you for, I think it goes back to like 2003 that we've known each other. And now you're back. And I just think it's so cool for all the different things. But to be able to sit down with you, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. And I want to dive into a lot of, there's so much to get into with you. I want to start back early on. I want to get to know the Albert before he was Albert Pujols, before, the Albert Pujols that everybody knew. Like, obviously grew up in the Dominican Republic. Tell me a little bit about your early years and growing up there in the DR, and then when that love of baseball, for you really happened.
Well, that's great. Well, the love of baseball for me happened at a young age. I was around 5 or 6 years old, following my dad around and, friends. And as you know, you've been now in the Dominican. That's the main sport for us. I always say when you have your first birthday, like your dad or your mom always give you a bat and glove, if they can afford it, a bat and a glove and a ball. So, for me, it was really easy kind of get into baseball because my family, my whole family, from my dad's side, brothers and sisters, they either play baseball, the women's play softball, volleyball. So, but I just fall in love with it, right away. And I think part of that is because the influence that my dad had into it. He was a great baseball player. He never played in a professional level, but he actually played really good, like AA, kind of their little AA team down in the DR. And then he was a great softball pitcher. So I guess that was really easy for me. I come from a big family. My mom and dad divorced at a young age. I was about 3 years old when they divorced. So I was raised by my grandma, America, and my dad pretty much. My mom was in the picture, but not much at a young age. I have a great relationship right now with my real mom, but I just was, raised by my grandma, my grandpa, who, died obviously really young too. I wish he was still alive because he was the crazy baseball player. He loved the game of baseball, and he watched I think all the boys pick up baseball because my grandpa, bienvenido. But nothing, man. Just like every little boy, you always have a dream, which is try to become a professional athlete if that was the case. But I always knew that those are stuff that, as a little boy, I always knew that those are stuff that we cannot control. It's one of those things that you have to be lucky. Doors had to be open. So I always focused on education. I knew that was something that I was able to control, go to school, hopefully get a diploma, graduate, and, become somebody that can help my family. Obviously, God had a different plan for me. But, I used to shine shoes as a little boy just to make some money to bring for my grandma for food. I used to throw trash on the weekend. Going around the neighborhood, picking up some trash and, throwing it away for the neighbor for money, so I can bring it to the house. I won't say that I come from a poor family because I believe if you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, poor, you've been down there and you have done some mission trip, you have seen, what poor people are. And that's why, I started my foundation also to allow and to give back, because with this platform that God has given us, it's not even about us anymore. It's about serving the Lord first, but also, the roots where you come from. So I'm able to do that, 22 years later, But it was just really nice and clean and fun childhood, that I grew up in, great environment.
So the baseball down there. I mean, here we have leagues all over, right? You can play in Chesterfield, you can play in South County, you can play in West County. What's it like as a kid growing up there wanting to play baseball? Is it just kids in the neighborhood? Is there structure going on that I know about the academies?
Well, here, the academy that just became the last 4 or 5 years, 10 years, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
When we grew up, yes, you had the academy, but it wasn't something like it is right now. Baseball has grown globally, not just in the Dominican Republic and all Latin America. But, we didn't have, because the money, obviously my family didn't have, I wasn't playing in really good organized baseball. There were like 5 or 6 really good league that you could play, like the elites or the elites. And because the money, I wasn't able to, to afford it, but I was able to play, in the league that, my dad and my grandma and my family were able to pay it. And I just, used to go to this. It was like a club that they used to have a bunch of different sports: basketball, baseball, softball. And I'm gonna tell you a story. I think you probably heard it, but first of all, when I went to this club, it was I picked boxing first. The first day, I picked boxing. And, I was like training, and like almost through the training, I put, the glove with another kid that was about 7 or 8 years old. And he beat the crap out of me, dude. And I was like 5 or 6. And when that happened, dude, I went crying home and, telling my dad I would never go back. So the next day I went back and I picked baseball. So, that's why actually
you owe that kid
sport.
A lot.
Yes. Trust me. I wish I can see him too. I would have beat his crap back out now, but no, I'm just playing. No, but just to thank him for beating the crap out of me, and I was able to pick the right sport. But yeah, so that league, it was El Club Fasaco, which is no longer there. They had turned that club down and kind of build apartments, complex for people, for families. So, but it was just, it was organized, but not to the level of like some of the leagues here, like travel ball and really organized leagues here in America. We don't have like little leagues like that. You just play against each other. I remember it was the red team, yellow, white, red, yellow, white, and green, I think. We only have 14. And we just play our own little tournament. The best thing that you have down there, as you know, the weather is so beautiful. You play all year long, pretty much. Right. So you play baseball all year long. During the week, you have your practice. During the weekend, you have your games. So I was able to be after and just, work on my game all year long, pretty much.
And so who were some of the players when you're a kid, growing up, that you're watching at the big league level or there in the Dominican that you kind of, really looked at as, somebody that you wanted to be or that helped you chase your dreams because of what they were doing?
Yeah, great question, because I used to work at the stadium. I used to work, my stepfather was, he still have some place like they make sandwiches and, sell some food at the ballpark. So I used to go help with my grandma. She passed away about 4 years ago, but she used to work for him, so I used to go with my mom too when she was in town. My mom moved to Panama, the country of Panama, when she was like 1989, I believe, or 91. So by the time that she would come to the country, like I used to go and help them out, like sell sandwiches and all that stuff at the stadium. But the love that I have for the game always, like, it makes me like to stop and forget about selling the sandwich that I had to sell and just focus, watching Julio Cesar Franco, Sammy Sosa, Sterling Javier, Moises Alou, Davey Ortiz, all those guys that are like, they'll really open the doors for us right now, and literally, almost Thursday, end of their career, my favorite players always have been Julio Cesar Franco and Chipper Jones. The American guy was always Chipper Jones. And the whole reason was Chipper Jones because when I was down there, Alejandro Peña, who was the closer in the 90s for the Atlanta Braves, I used to play with his son in the same league. So the Braves were kind of, the Braves and the Yankees, though, in the 90s, those were kind of the teams, the games that they put on TV down there. So for me, it was really easy to pick Chipper Jones. I liked the way that he go about it. I was a shortstop at that time. He was a third baseman, but I just loved the way that he played the game. So, but it was just a fun time. Those are memories. That sticks with you. And then when I go back in the off season and hang out with some of my friends, like we just talk about that. I'm like, hey, do you remember one time that we got in this car wreck because we went to try by the beach and run in the sand, try to get our speed up and stuff like that. It's just fun, man. It's fun to go back and just to remember those memories and go to the areas, where I grew. Obviously, has changed so much over the last, 35, 40 years. But, it's always bring great memories.
That was the one thing when I got to pro ball. It was a whole different world to me. I show up, played in our structured leagues here, went to high school, got drafted, and I show up and half the locker rooms now either Venezuelan, Dominican, or Puerto Rican. Yeah. And you're like, wait, these guys it's incredible. And then once you start to hear their stories and, what they've gone through to get to that point, how they've developed versus how we've developed and the talent that they have. Yeah. But then the other side of it, now these guys are here adapting, don't know English. Yeah. Some of them don't, like you talked about the education in these academies, they're in there, they can't read or write. Yeah. They're trying to figure it out, living in these small towns in rookie ball. I mean, I really, it was eye-opening to me of how different a path is for some of these guys at that level versus what, us here growing up in the States have come through. And a lot of, you really grow to appreciate it and what they've gone through.
Yeah, it's giving you an eye-awakening to see, like, man, we have pretty much everything here, and sometimes we complain so much about little things, when you really put your feet, and then even you would traveling to the DR and to Haiti and see, man, like, wow, like, things that here, like people throw in the trash or things here that don't even matter. It's like freaking gold to some of these people down there. It like makes you appreciate, what you have because you can be in that side. But I think, for me, I was one of those young players. I was one of those athletes that, yes, English is my second language and definitely was tough, but I knew that I had to learn it. I had to learn it fast. So, I went to school, finished high school here, and pretty much work hard in everything that I really put my mind into. And, I know that God have given me some special talent and ability, but he also, we have responsibility, and that's, to put our work into also.
So you and your family move from the Dominican to New York first, right?
Yeah, actually, how it goes, I believe my grandma and my grandpa, they came in 1987. Because my dad's older sister, she came to the United States first with her husband, who passed away several years ago. And then as you come, you always look the way like, how can I help my family down there? Right. So you start doing paperwork. So then 2 years later, my grandma and my grandpa came, and then my grandma and my grandpa, they have 5 kids and they just start doing their paperwork. So my dad and I, we were the last one in 1996, I believe. And September 16, I believe, or 1996, somewhere around there. And, it was a long time ago. But we were the last one pretty much to come to the United States. We were in New York for just a little bit. At that time, my grandma was already in Missouri because she felt that as she was bringing her family or her kids, and grandkids, like she felt like it would be better for her to establish our whole family in Missouri, a small town than New York, especially for work. And the city of New York is hard to find work. And Missouri, you'd be able to find 3 jobs at that time. So, she had really, really good wisdom. She felt that it was better for us to move to Missouri. So I was just in New York for such a small time, but then.
Did you play ball there in New York at all?
No, not at all, because I came almost towards the winter, I remember
a little different in the winter.
It was really cold. I remember when I got off the plane, it was really cold. It wasn't snowing yet. Yeah. My first time that I saw snow, I think it was like almost in December, I believe. And as soon as I got so excited, I jumped out of the freaking bus and I bust. my butt in the ground. Like I fell out because it was my first time seeing snow. But then, I moved. We all moved to Missouri, my dad and I, and, the rest of the family. And then I finished school at 406 High School.
Okay, so you go there and you start playing ball in Kansas, and you are a stud. I mean, very quickly, right? I mean, your numbers that you put up in college, and I'm assuming you're still in high school then. I'm assuming your high school numbers were probably crazy.
High school were pretty sick.
Yeah, but college wasn't bad.
And college was even better. But it was,
so it's a different game, though, right? I mean, you come here, the Dominican style baseball versus the American style baseball. It's a different game.
It was, Kyle, and the things that I, ran to a lot was because people never believed my age, and I think I was so much developing my game, as you know.
Yeah.
You play with 12, 13-year-old kid over there that you put them here, and they're like they can play with almost 17-year-old kids here in America. And that's how it was with me. Like, from age 12 to 15, I was playing with guys that were 15 or 17 years old. So, like, I was able to, I struggled early, but I was able to, compete with them. I was able to make the same mistakes over and over. And my game got so good that when I end up facing guys here with my age, I was like, tearing it up. It's almost like you being in AAA and going down to A-ball, and like facing guys from A-ball, you're going to kill it, or no, probably kill it, but like,
right. There's a big difference.
It's a big, so that's how it was. So that's why, I ran through a lot, obviously, I'm 42 now. People are just, really question mark my age and all that. I'm like, you can do whatever you want. I think there's one out there that's looking down on me that I can't fool hands. So, and my responsibility with God is more important than anything on this earth. So, and the gift that He has given me. So, but I think it didn't take long to get used to their environment. It was tough, even though the language. I had to use my little cousin for translating some of my classes. Then I find a couple of good teammates in high school. Chris Franca was one of them. Travis Bailey was one of them. Toby, guys that really want to help me out. And we were able to have success right away in high school. We went and state champion, not too far away from here. We played state champion in Missouri, Columbia, Missouri. So we were able to win it. We were one game away in 98 from going back-to-back as state champion. But it was just fun. And then the same core and group of guys that I play in high school, we kind of play summer league. I don't know if you ever heard High Boy, but that's kind of like in the Midwest. But in Kansas City, I play for Post 340, which is, I play a lot of great players who later on I end up seeing them make it to the big league. So either, had a great career in the minor league. So it was just a great competition. But I think, having great guys and great people always around me, like helping me out along the way, like it helped me out a lot. I was able to pick English, in 3 months and just to communicate, to understand a little bit better. And then by this 4th or 5th month, being in the state, I was able to just start taking classes by myself, and I didn't have no choice because my teachers that I have, it was Mr. Stanky, and she was Mrs. Stanky, and she didn't know any Spanish, and I didn't know any English, so it was like, forget about it, man. I had to figure it out right away. But those were fun times, man. Like I look back, bro, and it's like, man, those are the things that really keep you humble. Those are the things that you look at it and you say, wow, God, like, it's amazing, like the plans that He has for you. And, and man, that's why you don't take things for granted, you know what I mean? Because when you think you have it, it's like it can slip away from you. So, and then later on, getting drafted and getting to the big leagues and being around great, strong people like Woody Williams, Mike Matheny, J.D. Drew, just solid people, great organization, getting drafted by the Cardinals. It's awesome.
So I want to go back to that. So you get drafted 13th round, right? What year was that?
99.
99. And you go straight to Peoria, right? Low A?
No, 99, I actually got drafted late.
Okay.
Because I negotiation back and forth. They didn't want to pay for my school, and it was whatever. I don't want to get into all that.
Right.
You can have Mo and come and sit down here and talk about it, because by then he was the minor league guy, so minor league director. But I ended up being a drafting fellow. I got drafted late, so I went to instructional league for that month down in Jupiter, which, they're only saying the instructional league players that are like top picks. Yeah. So I'm in there, and I'm 402 in the draft, 13th round, and I'm like, first round, second round, first round, second round, third round. I'm like, what am I doing here? Uh-huh. But it was, I tell you, that was the first time that I felt a little intimidated. Although I was around some Latin guys, but I was a little bit intimidated because you were around guys, like Chris Duncan, Tim Lemon, Ben Johnson, Johnny Hernandez, Eliezer Alfonso, Arugo Carvajal, like they were the top prospect, or the top prospect, the top picks of the draft that year or the year before. So, and then they sent me pretty much, to the woods, pretty much, like having all these guys. But it didn't take long to get comfortable. Joe Pittini was our instructor, our minor league instructor. So, but it was fun, man. I had a great instructional league.
And that's about 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was like 6 weeks. Yeah, and the whole reason they sent me there because I signed late.
Yeah,
they couldn't
get some swings in. They want to see you.
Yeah.
So you do well there. So you show up the next spring training, and then that's when you go to Peoria?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a big jump. I mean, I know you went to instructional league, but that's
2000. 2000, that was my full minor league.
Yeah.
Or I guess my first full season as a professional was 2000. And I went from Peoria, Illinois, all the way to AAA.
Yeah, in your first year.
Skip AA.
Yeah. But your numbers in A-ball were ridiculous.
I don't know. I think it was like...
Yeah,
it was 400 somewhere bad. Like, I don't know, 350, so 340, 350, something like 20-some jacks, or 80. So, well, I was the MVP, I guess, in that league. And, but it was a great competition. I remember Austin Kerm, Adam Dunn, they were in that same division. And then we have a great team. Chris Dunker was our first baseman. I was the third baseman. Johnny Hernandez was our right fielder. Ben Johnson was our left fielder. Tim Lemon was our center fielder. Eliezer Alfonso was our catcher. We had a great team. And I think they left that team pretty much together all the way to AAA because we were end up winning in pretty much every level. So, but I was the MVP. I made the All-Star team there, and from there, when I thought that I was packing my bag to go, then I got called up to High A, Potomac, and I was there for just probably 3 weeks. And then, when I thought that the season was over for me, I was going to go home. Then I got called up to AAA, I only played 3 games in AAA before the playoff. And as you know, that famous home run in the 13 to send the team to the World Series, it was pretty amazing. Yeah. Well, actually, we were actually talking last night. I was talking with a friend of mine about that homer. But it was fun, man. It was fun. It didn't take long for me, only 1 year. But it was a fun year. And once again, not taking anything for granted. Every door that was open for me, I was always able to take advantage.
Yeah.
And even when I got, invited to early spring training in 2001, I wasn't even supposed to make the team. And I was like, I'm going to just do my best. And then I ended up making the ball club, a year after.
Yeah. We're going to get into that. I'm going to respect your time here, and this is the first phase I want to go through. We're going to get into the early on in St. Louis years as we go on. You've been gracious enough to agree to come back and talk about some of these.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
There's a lot to get into once you get there. That minor league career, though, just so you know, people listening, those usually take like 5 or 6 years to go through the minor leagues.
No, and especially back then, man, in the late 90s, early 2000, like you at least wait 1 or 2 or 3 years. Now, I mean, you get drafted 1 month in the minor league, and if you have a good month or 2 months, if they think they need you, you come up. But it was really, really, really rare to have one guy just being 1 year in the minor league and the next year being in the big leagues, like, but like I say, man, all the credit and all the glory goes to the Lord. It's, I just did my work and just took advantage of every opportunity that they was giving to me, and I enjoyed it. And here we are, bro. 22 years later, back to the team where everything started.
And gonna cause us to have 3 different episodes because there's so much to cover. So yeah. I appreciate your time. We're gonna circle back with the next phase of this in our next one here. But man, I appreciate it. It's fun for me to hear that, because I know you pretty well. But there's a lot of that I didn't know, and just hearing kind of where you came from. To everybody knows you, and what you've done here since you arrived to St. Louis. But there's so much behind it that has carved out the path for you to be who you are today, and I love that. So appreciate you being here, and
thanks for having me.
I look forward to the next one.
Awesome, buddy. Appreciate you, bro.